The Vetrani ambassador Zixtal clicked his mandibles in barely concealed derision as the human delegation entered the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council. The 17 representatives of the most advanced civilizations in the known universe washed from their elevated platforms as 5 humans in crisp Navy uniforms marched forward, their boots echoing on the polished floor. Lieutenant Jack Hayes led the group, trying to mask his awe at the soaring crystalline architecture and hovering translation orbs. This was humanity's first official reception by the Council, following 2 years of preliminary communications after their deep space probes had been intercepted near Proxima Centauri. "Welcome, Earth representatives," announced High Counselor Ilara, her translucent blue skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. "The Council acknowledges your species' achievement in developing faster-than-light travel, primitive though your implementation may be." Jack maintained his diplomatic smile. The condescension in her tone wasn't lost in translation. "Thank you, High Counselor. Earth is honored to stand among the stars with your esteemed civilizations," he replied, reciting the carefully prepared statement. The Medusan representative, a being composed of what appeared to be swirling gas contained within a hovering exoskeleton, floated forward. "I am Dr. Kelrin, Chief Science Officer. Our preliminary scans of your vessel indicate you employ nuclear fusion propulsion and rudimentary gravitational field manipulation." Quaint. Ambassador Zixtal stepped closer, towering over Jack at nearly 8 feet tall. His compound eyes reflected the human's images in countless tiny facets, and more concerning, you appear to have brought primitive weapons aboard the Council station. "Explain." Jack nodded to Security Officer Olivia Martinez, who stepped forward. "Standard diplomatic protocol, Ambassador. A small security detail for our representatives." The council chamber filled with a strange chittering sound that the translation orbs interpreted as laughter. "You bring projectile weapons, devices that propel metal using chemical explosions." Zixtal's mandibles clicked rapidly. "We abandoned such technology millennia ago." A holographic display activated in the center of the chamber, showing detailed schematics of the pistols and rifles carried by the human security team. The Ardelian representative, a 6-limbed feathered being, gestured with their primary manipulators. "Observe, colleagues. They use brass casings containing a propellant ignited by mechanical percussion. The resulting explosion forces a lead projectile through a rifle barrel." More laughter rippled through the chamber. Jack felt his face growing warm. "Our weapons are reliable and effective for our needs." "Allow me to demonstrate actual weapons technology," said Zixtal. He raised what appeared to be an ornate bracelet. A pulse of energy shot from it, creating a small ball of plasma that hovered in midair before dissipating harmlessly. "Personal defense disruptor," he explained. "No projectiles, no chemical propellants, no primitive mechanical parts to fail. Pure energy manipulation." Another council member, a silicon-based life form, extended a crystalline appendage. "And this is a standard quantum phase emitter. It can target specific molecular bonds, allowing for precision incapacitation without physical damage." The displays shifted to show the vast array of council weaponry: plasma cannons, graviton disruptors, neural inhibitors, and weapons that seemed to bend the very fabric of space-time. Dr. Kelrin's gaseous form swirled faster. "You understand now why we find your guns amusing. They are relics, museum pieces to us." Jack exchanged glances with Martinez, whose hand had instinctively moved closer to her holstered sidearm. He gave her a subtle shake of his head. "We appreciate the technological disparity, Council representatives," Jack said carefully. "Earth is still developing. We hope to learn from your advanced civilizations." "Indeed you shall," said High Counselor Ilara. "Consider this your first lesson. True advancement comes when a species moves beyond hurling physical objects at their problems." The council chamber erupted in another round of translated laughter as Jack stood firm, maintaining his diplomatic smile while wondering if humanity had made a terrible mistake venturing into the stars so soon. 3 days after the initial meeting, Lieutenant Jack Hayes and his team found themselves in the Council's demonstration facility. The cavernous room had been converted into what the aliens called a technological comparison arena, though Jack recognized it for what it was, a firing range designed to humiliate the humans. "We believe practical demonstration will help you understand the gap between our civilizations," said Dr. Kelvin, his gaseous form swirling with what Jack had learned to recognize as excitement. Surrounding them were representatives from all 17 Council species, many holding recording devices or scanning equipment. They watched with poorly concealed amusement as Surgeon Olivia Martinez unpacked the case containing her standard-issue rifle. "Your primitive projectile launcher against Council standard-issue weaponry," announced Ambassador Zixtal. "Begin with target accuracy at 100 meters. A series of holographic targets appeared downrange. A Vetrini soldier stepped forward first, holding what resembled a sleek silver tube. He pointed it at the target, and a beam of blue energy shot forth, hitting the center perfectly. Particle beam accuracy, 100% at 100 meters, announced an automated system. Next came an Ardelian wielding what looked like a crystalline gauntlet. A pulse of energy erupted from it, striking the target with another perfect hit. Phase disruptor accuracy, 100% at 100 meters. After 5 more alien demonstrations, all with perfect accuracy, Martinez stepped up to the firing line. She positioned herself, checked her rifle, and took a steady breath. "You may fire your weapon," Zixtal said, the translation orb conveying his disdain. Martinez squeezed the trigger 5 times in rapid succession. The crack of gunfire echoed through the chamber, startling many of the Council representatives who had never heard such a sound. When the targets were checked, all 5 shots had struck within the center ring. "Interesting," said Dr. Kelvin, floating closer. "But observe, our weapons can maintain perfect accuracy at 500 meters without adjustment." The demonstration continued. At 500 meters, Martinez still placed all shots within the target rings, though not with the perfect center hits of the energy weapons. "Now for atmospheric interference testing," announced Zixtal. The chamber filled with a dense fog, then a simulated rainstorm, followed by high winds. To the humans' surprise, the alien weapons began to show limitations. The particle beams diffused in the fog, the phase disruptors scattered in the rain, and the plasma weapons curved off target in the wind. When Martinez's turn came, she adjusted her stance slightly for the conditions and fired. The bullets cut through the environmental obstacles with minimal deviation. "How is this possible?" asked one of the Council members. "The primitive projectile maintains trajectory." Dr. Kelleran's gaseous form pulsed rapidly. "Fascinating. The physical nature of the projectile means it's relatively unaffected by electromagnetic interference or atmospheric distortion." The final test involved rapid target acquisition. A series of targets appeared at random positions and depths. The alien representatives performed admirably, their weapons locking onto targets with computer assistance. When Martinez stepped up, she shouldered her rifle and engaged each target as it appeared, moving fluidly between positions. "Human reaction time is unexpected," noted Dr. Kelleran, now recording detailed observations. As the demonstration concluded, Jack noticed the mood in the chamber had shifted from mockery to thoughtful analysis. "Your weapons are indeed primitive," said Zixtal, "but their simplicity grants certain advantages we had not considered." Dr. Kelleran floated closer to examine Martinez's rifle. "The ballistic principles are basic physics, yet we abandoned this technology path so long ago that we failed to recognize its practical applications in certain scenarios." "Sometimes the simplest solution works best," said Jack, seeing an opening for genuine dialogue. "Perhaps," admitted Dr. Kelleran, "there is more to learn from Earth than we initially assumed. I would like to conduct further studies on these ballistic weapons." As they left the chamber, Jack caught Olivia's eye and gave her a subtle nod. The council wasn't laughing anymore. Jack was reviewing the demonstration results with Martinez in their assigned quarters when the station alarms activated. Red lights pulsed across the ceiling as a melodic but urgent announcement echoed in an alien language, followed by its translation. Security alert. Unauthorized vessels have breached docking protocols. All diplomatic personnel remain in secure areas. Council security forces responding. What's happening? Jack asked as he activated the communication link to Council Command. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Dr. Kelrin's gaseous form swirling in agitated patterns. Lieutenant Hayes, we have a situation. Draxian separatists have boarded the station. They were hiding within a supply transport. Draxians? Martins asked, already moving to secure their weapons case. A splinter faction from the outer systems, Dr. Kelrin explained. They oppose Council membership for developing worlds, particularly yours. They've taken hostages in the southern diplomatic hub. Jack could hear weapons fire in the background of the transmission. Our security forces are engaging, but Dr. Kelrin paused as a loud explosion shook the transmission. The Draxians have deployed specialized shield technology. Our energy weapons are ineffective against their defenses. The display split to show security footage from various parts of the station. Jack watched as Council security fired brilliant beams of energy at the invaders. Tall, gray-skinned beings with ridge-lined faces. The beams simply dissipated against shimmering personal shields surrounding each Draxian. They've calibrated their shields specifically to our frequency ranges. Zixtal's voice cut in from off-screen. All standard Council weapons are being absorbed or deflected. Jack exchanged a meaningful glance with Martinez. Ambassador, what about non-energy weapons? There was a pause on the transmission. You mean your projectile devices? They are primitive, but... Another explosion cut off Zixtal's words. We can help, Jack said firmly. My security team is trained for combat situations. Our weapons operate on completely different principles than yours. The screen showed Dr. Kelrin and Zixtal in hurried conversation with other council members. Finally, the ambassador's mandibles clicked rapidly. Very well, Lieutenant. Your assistance is requested. But understand, if this is some human ploy. With respect, Ambassador, we're all in danger here. Let us help. Within minutes, Jack had assembled his small security detail of 4 officers. Captain Daniel Wright, their tactical specialist, quickly outlined a plan using the station schematics Dr. Kelrin provided. The Draxians have taken control of 3 junction points leading to the council chambers, Wright explained. They're methodically disabling security protocols. Their shields make them practically invulnerable to council weapons, but they've never encountered ballistic firearms. Element of surprise is our advantage, Martinez added, checking her rifle. They won't have calibrated their shields for physical projectiles. As they moved through the station corridors, they encountered Council security forces taking cover from Draxian attacks. The alien officers looked at the humans with a mixture of doubt and desperation. Our weapons do nothing, said a Medusan officer, his exoskeleton scorched from battle. Their shields absorb all energy. Stand back, Wright instructed, positioning his team at the junction. We'll clear a path. When the first group of Draxians rounded the corner, they moved with the confidence of invulnerability, their shields glowing faintly as they advanced. Wright gave the signal, and the human team opened fire. The sound of gunfire echoed through the metallic corridors. The Draxians froze in shock as bullets tore through their shields and found their targets. 3 fell immediately, while the others scrambled for cover, clearly panicked by this unexpected development. Impossible, one of the Draxians shouted as they retreated. Their weapons bypass our shields. From behind the human team, Dr. Kelrin observed with rapidly swirling gases. Fascinating. The physical projectiles passed through the energy barriers completely unaffected. The Draxians prepared for energy-based attacks only. Sometimes old technology has its advantages, Jack said, reloading his sidearm. They never saw this coming. As they pressed forward, The Council security forces followed behind, watching with new respect as the humans' primitive weapons turned the tide of battle. Captain Daniel Wright crouched behind an overturned console, the acrid smell of gunpowder mixing with the strange ozone scent of alien energy weapons. Through his earpiece, he coordinated the human security team that had now spread throughout the southern section of the station. "Martinez, status report," he whispered. "East corridor secured," came her calm reply. 8 hostages freed. 2 Draxians neutralized. The Council security forces that had initially dismissed the humans now watched in stunned silence as Wright outlined the next phase of their counterattack on a holographic display. "Their command group is holed up here," Wright said, pointing to a large chamber on the map. "They've got about 15 hostages, including 2 council members." Dr. Kelrin floated closer, his gaseous form condensed in what Wright had learned indicated stress. "Their shields are impenetrable to our weapons. Even with your ballistic devices, a frontal assault would endanger the hostages." Wright nodded. "That's why we're not going in the front." He highlighted a maintenance shaft that ran above the chamber. "Martinez will position here with clear sightlines. Hayes, Rodriguez, and I will enter through the environmental control system. We'll create a distraction while Martinez takes out their leader." Zixtel clicked his mandibles skeptically. "The distance is over 60 meters with multiple obstacles. Even our targeting systems struggle with such conditions." Martinez simply checked her rifle scope. "I won't miss." 20 minutes later, Wright carefully removed a ventilation panel and peered into the chamber below. 15 Draxians stood guard over the kneeling hostages. Their leader, distinguishable by his ornate armor, paced before a communication terminal. "In position," came Martinez's whisper through the comm. "I have eyes on the target through the observatory glass. He's moving in a predictable pattern." "Copy that," Wright responded. "On my mark." He nodded to Hayes and Rodriguez, who readied flashbang grenades modified with alien technology to penetrate the Draxian shields. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The grenades dropped through the vent and detonated with blinding light and concussive force. As the Draxians reeled in confusion, Wright and his team dropped into the chamber, firing with precise bursts at the disoriented attackers. Through the large observatory window across the chamber, a single shot from Martinez's rifle cracked the air. The Draxian leader's shield flickered uselessly as the bullet passed through, striking him squarely in the shoulder of his weapon arm. He dropped to the ground, his energy pistol clattering across the floor. The remaining Draxians, seeing their leader fallen and their shields useless against the human weapons, quickly surrendered. As Council security forces moved in to secure the prisoners, High Counselor Ilara approached Wright. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed in what he recognized as the Medusan equivalent of astonishment. "Captain, your tactics were unexpected. We owe you a debt of gratitude." "Just doing our job, Counselor," Wright replied, holstering his sidearm. In the aftermath, the Council chamber was hastily reconvened. The human delegation stood at the center, no longer objects of derision, but of intense interest. "The Draxian commander has confessed," announced Zixtel. "They specifically developed those shields after studying our weapon systems for years. They believe themselves invulnerable." Dr. Kelrin floated forward. "What we dismissed as primitive technology proved to be our salvation today. The physical nature of your projectile weapons completely bypassed defenses calibrated for energy-based attacks." High Counselor Ilara's skin glowed with formal patterns. "The Council acknowledges that diversity in technology may have strategic value we had not previously recognized." "Sometimes the old ways work best," said Hayes with a diplomatic smile. "Perhaps," admitted Zixtel, his earlier condescension notably absent. "There is wisdom in maintaining multiple technological paths rather than assuming one represents true advancement." Martinez stood at attention beside Wright, her rifle now regarded with respect rather than amusement by the aliens surrounding them. "The Council would be interested in further demonstrations of your weapons technology," Dr. Kelrin said. Under more controlled circumstances, of course. Wright exchanged glances with Hayes. In just a few days, they had gone from being mocked as primitives to being valued as tactical allies. The human guns that had drawn such laughter were now the center of intense scientific curiosity. "We'd be happy to oblige," Hayes replied, unable to completely hide his satisfaction. 2 weeks after the Draxian attack, the Council had established a new research wing dedicated to what they now called alternative weapons technology. Engineer Lisa Cooper stood before a group of alien scientists, disassembling a standard rifle on a hovering display table. "The beauty of ballistic weapons is their simplicity," she explained, separating the firing pin from the bolt assembly. "Chemical energy is converted to kinetic energy. No power cells to deplete, no frequency modulators to disrupt." Dr. Kelren's gaseous form swirled closer to examine the components. "Yet this simplicity creates limitations. Your projectiles lose velocity over distance. They're affected by gravity and wind." Lisa smiled. "Every technology has trade-offs. Your energy weapons are powerful but complex. They require enormous power sources and are vulnerable to environmental interference." The Ardelian scientist Krelvort lifted a bullet with his feathered appendage. "We've been exploring ways to enhance these projectiles using our metallurgical knowledge." He placed the bullet into a scanning field. The holographic display showed its composition changing at the molecular level. "By incorporating quantum-stabilized alloys, we can create projectiles that maintain structural integrity at much higher velocities," Krelvort explained. Lisa's eyes widened. "That would increase range and penetration dramatically." "Precisely," Dr. Kelren said. "And your propellant chemistry could be enhanced with our catalytic compounds. We've synthesized a version that produces 300% more energy without increased chamber pressure." In another section of the research wing, Jack Hayes observed as Vetrini weapons specialists tested prototype hybrid weapons. These combine traditional firing mechanisms with alien technology. "The recoil dampening field works perfectly," said Ambassador Zixtal, who had become surprisingly enthusiastic about the project. "And the targeting assistance module integrates well with your optical sights." Jack picked up one of the prototypes. It resembled a standard rifle but with subtle alien components integrated into the design. When he looked through the scope, a holographic overlay showed environmental factors and calculated trajectory adjustments automatically. "Remarkable," he said. "It maintains the reliability of our ballistic systems while adding your advanced targeting capabilities." "We've also developed these," Zixtal said, opening a case containing what looked like bullets with faintly glowing cores. "Standard projectiles enhanced with a micro-pulse energy charge. They deliver kinetic impact followed by an energy discharge." Across the chamber, Martinez tested the new ammunition on a range. The targets, constructed with Draxian shield technology, showed the devastating effect. The bullets physically penetrated the shields, then released energy bursts inside them. "Project Convergence is exceeding expectations," High Counselor Ilara said as she entered the facility. Her bioluminescence patterns indicated what Jack had learned was deep satisfaction. "The Draxian threat revealed a strategic vulnerability in our defenses," she continued. "We abandoned physical weapons millennia ago, believing energy-based systems represented the pinnacle of development. In doing so, we created a technological blind spot." Dr. Kelren's form pulsed in agreement. Technological diversity proves to be as important as biological diversity. Different approaches create resilience against specialized threats. Lisa closed the reassembled rifle with a satisfying click. "On Earth, we have a saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket." The translation orbs struggled momentarily before Dr. Kelren swirled in what Jack recognized as laughter. An apt metaphor. We had indeed placed all our defensive eggs in the energy weapon basket. Ambassador Zixtal approached with another prototype. "We're already implementing hybrid weapon systems throughout Council security forces. The first production units will be deployed next cycle." "And what about sharing these advancements with Earth?" Jack asked carefully. High Counselor Ilara's patterns shifted to a formal configuration. The Council has voted. Earth will be offered accelerated membership status, with full technology exchange protocols. Your primitive contribution has proven too valuable to dismiss. As the human team exchanged glances, Lisa picked up a hybrid pistol that combined human design with alien materials. "I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship," she said, admiring the weapon that represented the unexpected bridge between two technological philosophies that had once seemed worlds apart. Major Nathan Black stood on the bridge of the GCS Defender, watching as the combined fleet moved into position around Proxima Station. Through the view screen, he could see the distinctive silhouettes of both Council vessels and the newer human ships that had been rapidly constructed using shared technology. "Draxian fleet approaching," announced the Ardelian sensor operator. 47 vessels, heavily armed. They are broadcasting demands for Council withdrawal from 3 sectors. "They've grown bold since their attack on the Council station," said Captain Vexnar, the Vetrani commander of the Defender. "Intelligence suggests they've spent years developing their shield technology specifically to counter our weapons." Nathan nodded grimly. "But they haven't adapted to our new hybrid armaments. They're still expecting to face purely energy-based attacks." The past 3 months had seen the Draxian conflict escalate from isolated terrorist strikes to open warfare. Their earlier raid had been just the beginning of a coordinated campaign against Council authority. What had started as a political movement had revealed itself as a well-armed separatist force with surprising military capability. "All ships report ready," said Martinez, now promoted to lieutenant and serving as tactical officer on the joint mission. "Hybrid weapon systems online and locked." Nathan activated the fleet-wide communication channel. "All vessels, this is Major Black. Remember your training. The Draxians are expecting their shields to protect them from standard Council weapons. Our advantage is surprise and technological diversity. Hold fire until you're in optimal range for ballistic penetration." The Draxian fleet approached in tight formation, their ships bristling with what appeared to be enhanced versions of the personal shields their boarding parties had used. Advanced probes showed their shields effectively neutralizing all test bursts from conventional Council energy weapons. "They're hailing us," said the communications officer. The main view screen showed the ridge-faced Draxian commander, his expression one of confident superiority. "Council forces, your weapons cannot penetrate our defenses. Surrender Proxima Station and withdraw from our claimed territories." Nathan stepped forward into view. "This is Major Nathan Black of Earth, representing the Galactic Council. Your attack on a diplomatic station violated interstellar law. Stand down and prepare to be boarded." The Draxian commander's expression shifted to one of disdain. "Humans, the Council sends primitives to fight their battles now. Your species barely understands space travel, let alone warfare among the stars." "Perhaps," Nathan replied calmly, "but we understand one thing very well." He nodded to Martinez, who activated the tactical systems. Fire. From the Council ships erupted not the expected energy beams, but physical projectiles. Massive railgun rounds accelerated to near-relativistic speeds by hybrid human-alien technology. The kinetic penetrators struck the Draxian shields, which flickered uselessly as the physical rounds tore through them and into the ships beyond. The Draxian commander's face showed shock as alarms blared behind him on his bridge. "Impossible. Our shields were designed for energy weapons," Nathan finished for him, "not kinetic impacts." The second wave of fire came from the human vessels, missiles containing both conventional explosives and quantum disruptors that activated after physical penetration of the shields. "All ships, move to Phase 2, Nathan ordered. The combined fleet broke formation, executing the complex maneuvers they had practiced. Human tactical doctrines, developed over centuries of warfare on Earth, proved devastatingly effective in 3-dimensional space combat. "They're attempting to regroup," Martins reported. "Their flagship is trying to coordinate a defensive position." "Target their command systems with precision rounds," Nathan ordered. "Disable, don't destroy." The specialized ammunition, bullets enhanced with Medusan guidance technology, struck the Draxian flagship's communication array with surgical precision. Within 30 minutes, the battle was over. The Draxian fleet, expecting an easy victory against ineffective weapons, found themselves outmatched by technology they had never encountered and tactics they were unprepared to counter. As the remaining Draxian ships surrendered, Dr. Kelrin's voice came through on a private channel to Nathan. It appears the Council's dismissal of primitive human weapons was perhaps the greatest tactical error we could have made. Fortunately, we recognized our mistake before our enemies could exploit it further. Admiral Catherine Powell stood at the center of the Grand Council chamber, her dress uniform adorned with both Earth military insignia and the newly created Galactic Defense Force emblem. Around her, representatives from all 18 Council species, now including humanity, watched as she completed her acceptance speech. 2 years ago, the Council laughed at human weapons technology, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. Today, I stand before you as the first human appointed to the Council's Defense Committee. Our journey reminds us that progress isn't always linear, and wisdom can be found in diversity of thought and approach. High Counselor Ilara's bioluminescent patterns glowed with formal approval. The Treaty of New Terra marks a historic shift in Council philosophy. For too long, we believed that technological advancement moved in only one direction, toward ever more complex energy manipulation. We abandoned simpler technologies as primitive, creating a dangerous blind spot in our defensive capabilities. Ambassador Zixtal, once the most vocal critic of human primitive technology, stepped forward. The hybrid weapons programs have revolutionized galactic security. By combining human ballistic principles with Council energy technology, we've created defense systems resistant to specialized countermeasures. After the ceremony, Catherine walked with Jack Hayes, now Colonel Hayes, through the memorial garden established to honor those who had fallen during the Draxian conflict. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when they first mocked your sidearm?" she asked him. Jack smiled, looking at the garden's centerpiece, a sculpture showing human and alien hands together holding both an energy weapon and a ballistic rifle. "Never. I was just trying not to start an interstellar incident when they laughed at our primitive guns." Dr. Kelrin floated over to join them, his gaseous form now contained in a more elaborate exoskeleton denoting his elevated status as Chief of Technological Integration. "The Galactic Military Academy's latest class graduates tomorrow," he said, "the first to be fully trained in both energy and ballistic combat techniques. The cadets now understand that technological diversity creates strategic resilience." They watched as a group of alien visitors examined an exhibit showing the evolution of human firearms alongside Council energy weapons, now displayed with equal prominence. "Earth has become the center for military innovation in the galaxy," Catherine observed. "Not because we were more advanced, but because we offered a different perspective." "Precisely," said Dr. Kelrin. "What we once dismissed as primitive has become our greatest strength. The new combat doctrine requires all Council security forces to maintain proficiency in multiple weapons technologies." Throughout the station, evidence of humanity's influence could be seen. Alien security officers now carried sidearms that used physical ammunition alongside their energy weapons. Training facilities included both high-tech simulations and old-fashioned shooting ranges. "The Draxians made a critical mistake," Jack said. "They studied Council technology for decades, developing specific countermeasures. But they never considered that the Council might adapt and incorporate something they considered obsolete." At the far end of the garden, a class of mixed-species cadets was receiving instruction from Olivia Martinez, now commander of training at the Academy. She demonstrated a firing stance to young Vetrani, Medusan, and human recruits. "The most important lesson wasn't about weapons at all," Dr. Kelrin observed. "It was about humility. The Council had become arrogant in our technological advancement, believing our path was the only valid one." Catherine nodded. "On Earth, we have a saying, don't laugh at someone until you've walked a mile in their shoes." The translation ords rendered the idiom perfectly, having been updated with thousands of human expressions, now popular throughout Council space. Indeed, Dr. Kelrin's form swirled in what Catherine recognized as thoughtful agreement. Perhaps if we had not laughed at human guns that first day, we might never have discovered how much we had to learn from Earth. As the three walked toward the new Earth Embassy, they passed a display case containing the original sidearm Jack had carried during first contact, now labeled in multiple languages as the weapon that changed galactic warfare. From objects of ridicule to treasured artifacts, Jack mused, all because someone decided to laugh at the primitives and their simple guns. Until we fired them, Catherine added with a smile.